So thank you very much for having me here and letting me present to you our pilot action to Territorial Agenda 2030 on understanding how sector policies shape spatial imbalances, region-focused territorial impact assessment. So evolution of our documents adopted by the ministers responsible for spatial planning and development. As you can see, already in 1999, in fact, territorial impact assessment were mentioned in the document European perspective, spatial development perspective. And it is also present in the last document adopted in December last year, Territorial Agenda 2030. What is different is that together with this agenda, 6 different pilot actions were initiated, different in content, but one of them is the region-focused territorial assessment led by my Ministry of Development Funds and Regional Policy, but we are working together with our prominent partners from Czechia, Germany, the Netherlands and Slovenia, and of course with support of European Commission, Committee of the Regions and ESPON programs and the networks of the territorial cohesion contact points. Our research area, we are concentrated on in fact different methods to measuring the impact of different strategies and policies on different spatial structures. So also rural areas, urban areas, but we pay the more attention to the cross-border functional areas. And we are looking at different types of policies, but we are looking also at different time of assessing these policies and strategies. So ex-ante, ongoing and ex-post evaluations. And what we are looking at, it is also different special development strategies, which are kind of coordinators of sectoral policies. We are looking also at environmental impact assessment as one of the tools also for assessing the territorial impact of our policies and strategies. As you can see from the timeline of our project, we are still in this first phase of the project of exchanging the knowledge and reviewing of the existing TIA methods. We are doing also different pilot projects in different countries to our pilot action. In the second phase, we will develop a methodology. In the third phase, we will test and implement the methodology developed in the second phase. The main product of ours will be manual for practitioners at different levels of governance, so at national, regional, and local levels. And to do so, we are testing now different methods. As you can see, we have the pilot projects on the Polish-German cross-border areas in Czechia, in the Netherlands, and in Slovenia. Let me go briefly through all pilot projects. So the first one is the Czechia, and here is the typical TIA, exposed TIA for the cohesion policy, and we are doing it in micro-region Jasenik, which comprises 24 different municipalities. Then we have the Netherlands, and in the Netherlands there are 2 policy areas, research areas. It is the actualization of the previous study of Europeization of the spatial planning in the Netherlands. And the second one is the kind of special foresight for the Joint Limburg 2050, connected with the special development strategy of the Netherlands called NOVI. In Slovenia, we are testing rural border area Obsotolesko, and this is typical rural area. I have the information that they just finished the last workshop of this testing, this ETIA method, and they are in fact taking into account the cultural heritage strategy and its impact on this territory of the rural border area Obsotolesko. What is important from the discussion, it was the subject of involvement of the policymakers in the process. So there was some discussion about how, if it's necessary to involve the stakeholders, these policymakers in the process, and when it should start. It should be from the beginning of the process or at the end, and then the proportion. And in fact, the conclusion is that what is important is the involvement from the beginning, but also the balanced involvement. So the balance between different stakeholders should be kept. But they also should be involved from the beginning in the process. And the second area is the urban cross-border area, Nowa Gorica, and the transport policy will be tested there. In Polish-German cross-border area, we are testing 4 different policies using 4 different methods. In April already, we have tested TIA Target, TIA Quick Check, and ESPON TIA Tool. In the future, there will be TIA for cross-border infrastructure investments, and the railway policy will be tested there. The discussion of intervention logic is similar for every type of method we already tested. And also scenario of the workshop is similar. You can read it after all, because I have to be very brief on that. But of course, the presentation will be sent to you, so you can return to it later on. Similarities and differences between different methods. The main probably disadvantage of this ESPON TIA tool is that the maximum NUTS3 can be taken into account. You can go deeper, but advantages are that all methods are very flexible in the context of the exposure fields, and also choice of the degree of sensitivity of the regions. Only target TIA can be done exposed. Other methods are ex-ante methods. Conclusions are that unfortunately, these tested methods are rather appropriate for the European level policy analysis. Collecting of comparable data at local and regional level is challenging task, in particular in the context of the cross-border analysis. And it's better to organize several workshops than only one, because it's quite time-consuming. Depending on the policy, the best way is to do kind of necessity check to check if the given policy need to be further examined or not. And depending on that, you are going with different type of methods. TIA method tailored to the specificity of policy, but also to the specificity of territory. Here you can see the table from our report on existing TIA methods. As you can see, we are taking into account different types of methods, different geographic coverage, type of documents covered, also type of assessed territories impact, and other factors. In fact, the report, the final version, will be ready at the end of May. I have already it on my desk, so probably soon it will be. I will put it on the website of the agenda, so you could read it carefully. Okay, questionnaire on impact assessment. As you know, we have conducted a survey on territorial impact assessment in February and March. We've got 15 respondents from 13 answers from 13 countries. What is important, I mean, and it is what we think about the territorial impact assessment. In fact, rural proofing is just a part for our team. Rural proofing is a part of the territorial impact assessment, and we are just treated as one of territorial impact assessment, just wearing these different lenses, so these rural lenses to look at these rural areas. But still, we think that the tools could be the same, while elaborating this, I mean, measuring the impact of on this rural areas. We were happy that all respondents know the term TIA, but maybe it was because it was mainly our territorial colleagues who answered the questions. Performance of TIA is positively related to the administrative level of the entity that performs them. The higher the level of government, the more often the TIA is declared to be performed. And here you can see the graph. So majority at ministerial and national levels of governance, and then you are going down. You can see that the less less TIA are done. What was interesting for us is that the rural areas are those who are much covered by TIA. And another conclusion is that, in fact, we can't have the one unified tool for measuring the impact of different policies, different strategies and programs, because we need tailor-made tool. So a one-size-fits-all method wouldn't work. So we have to be specific depending on the policy, strategy, and depending on the territory we are checking the impact on. So where we are in our pilot action is the analysis and dissemination of the questionnaire. So this is still open, and you can access the survey via our website of Territorial Agenda 2030. We are still doing pilot projects, and the final report will be ready at the end of May. And the last but not least, what are the similarities? As I mentioned before, for us, rural proofing is just a part of the territorial impact assessment. Just the territory differ. So taking into account, we have to ask ourselves, what are the rural areas today, how to define them, what is the specificity and sensitivity of the rural areas, and in fact, how we can convince the policy makers to differently treat these rural areas. So what are the differences? And probably to do so, we need kind of typologies or typology of rural areas. So we have to define what we think about rural areas, how we perceive them, and of course indicators could help to assess the sensitivity and typologies of rural areas. And the collection of relevant data, institutional cooperation and knowledge exchange is necessary for that. And I think that still this cooperation between ministries is crucial. In Poland, for example, it's still Ministry for Agriculture, which is which has the best data on rural areas. And the final question: what methods should be used to best answer the sensitivity and specificity and types for different types of rural areas? Thank you very much.